It's Mike with Iceberg Gaming here with another Project Zomboid guide for today. In today's video, I'm going to be going over with you guys the strategy for your first week, step by step, day by day, to set yourself up for long-term success in Project Zomboid. Now, one thing to keep in mind before we get started is that I am going to be presenting this as a bit of a checklist, but it's not exactly a checklist. It is more of a priority list. So if you get something done first, go ahead and get it done. And if it takes you longer to do something, go ahead and take the time. If you finish something sooner, feel free to move on to the next task. But right away, we're starting things off with day one. And for day one, we have our 4 top priorities. Number 1, we need to find weapons. As many good weapons as possible, but if you can't find anything good, just find the best you can. Number 2, we need to get a watch so that we can tell time. And number 3, we want to clear the houses immediately around our starter house. And going along hand in hand with that, we want to kill as many zombies as possible. Now, since we're going to be looting the houses, we're going to be finding a lot of food and water. Now, we're not going to say no to these, but it's not our priority for today. For today, we really want to kill as many zombies as possible so that we can set ourselves up later to not have to kill. The ultimate goal would be to not kill any zombies on day 2. You're also going to want to take sheets to cover up the windows in your starter house. And make sure you use those sheets on the doors and windows in your starter house. Now, for me personally, the starter house is almost never where I set up my permanent base, but we're going to use it for the first week or so with this strategy. So you're going to want to store your loot there as much as possible also. And if you do a good job in day 1, day 2, you hopefully won't have to kill hardly any zombies. Now today we're going to take advantage of the fact that there won't be that many zombies because you killed those that are there, and also they haven't really started spawning in yet. The peak day is usually around a month in unless you change your default settings. So we should have a pretty low zombie population at this point. Again, depending on your settings. I'm basing my estimations off default here. So the zombie population should be pretty low at this point. So we're going to make our way to points of interest nearby. We're going to be prioritizing number 1, books, and this is going to take you to bookstores, schools, and or post offices, depending on the town that you're in. VHS stores for the skill tapes. We're looking for, in order of importance, I would say personally, Carzone, carpentry, and then probably exposure, survival, and cooking would be the lowest priority, but it is still very important in my opinion. So just get every skill tape you can find. And the books that I like to prioritize personally are carpentry 1 through 5, tailoring 1 through 5, electronics 1, mechanics probably 1, 2, and 3, farming I would say 1 through 5, trapping, first aid, fishing, and foraging. I focus on getting level 1 of each at first, and then later, depending on how I'm doing, I'll look at getting the rest. And also any magazines you can find. This is going to, especially important is going to be the generator magazine, and I would say the herbalist and the automotive magazines are probably the most important in my opinion. And the gas station is a great place to find magazines. If you are still not sure where to get the generator magazine, I have a guide up for that as well on my channel. A great place is gas stations or like doctor's offices. And for the hardware store, we're looking to beef up our weapon supply with anything good, particularly, in my opinion, shovels, crowbars, garden forks, and axes. We're also looking for nails, boxes of nails, if we're doing any sort of construction, which I recommend you do, as well as at least 1 saw and at least 1 hammer, at least 1 screwdriver, and then any tools you need for your vehicle repair as well. Oh, and if you can find a sledgehammer, that is your number one priority if you can find the sledgehammer. Make sure you're grabbing any garbage bags along the way as well. It's not a super high priority, but you're going to need them later, so just grab them. Day number 3, you're probably going to have to kill some zombies because they'll be spawning and or migrating into the area. Just keep the area around your house as clean as you can. Your priorities for today are going to be finding a vehicle. It doesn't have to be a great vehicle, just a vehicle to start with. You need to find the emergency channel, and then if you can find a trailer, that's great as well. But the trailer is kind of icing on the cake. The first two go the search for the first two kind of go hand in hand. If you already have a vehicle from day 1 or day 2, spend the day while you're searching for the emergency channel looking for a better one. Your best chance of finding the emergency broadcast channel is going to be in the police cars. You can also find it in fire trucks. Well, you can find it anywhere, but the highest probability is going to be police cars and fire trucks. Once you've got the channel, make sure you program it into your current car. This emergency broadcast channel is going to be super important when we get into day 6, 7, etc. Now, at the start of the game, unless you take the burglar, I think it is, that lets you hotwire right away, you're just going to have to settle for whatever car you can find a key for, and especially if you're going to have to find a car that has gas early in the game to get it going until you find gas cans. Or if you've got a working car and you want to upgrade, but the car that you're upgrading to doesn't have gas and you don't have gas cans, what I'm doing here is I'm going to tow the car that I'm using currently, and I'm going to tow the upgraded car with the current car to the gas station and fill it up there. This is a little bit dangerous, depending on how many zombies are around, but it can be done in a pinch. Now, the things that I'm looking for in a car upgrade, for the most part, is trunk space. Secondary is extra seats to put like generators in. Generators will fit in a seat even though they technically shouldn't, because of the carrying limit is actually, the generator is actually more than the carrying limit of the seat, but they go in there anyway. So we're looking for a couple of seats to put like generators and popsicle fridges, etc. in. But trunk space is my number one choice with a car. At least at the beginning of the game. After I've got my first car, I always want to upgrade to a car with a better trunk. This is going to be especially important after like day 7 when we start moving to our permanent base. And if you do upgrade your car, make sure you move all your ill-begotten gains, your loot, over to the new car. Make sure you program in the emergency channel to the new car as well, assuming you've found it by now. And if you're ahead of the game so far and you want to look for the trailer, the best place to do that is to drive around the outskirts of the town that you're in on the I guess they're highways around town, looking for little meta events with crashed vehicles, and you'll hopefully find a trailer there. Don't spend too much time on the trailer, and if you've got it, unless you've got everything else handled. It's not super important, but it is very nice to have. Next up, we've got our day 4 priority is going to be very important. We're going to be hunting for food and water. Now, I'm sure you guys thought that this would come up earlier in the list, but you really don't need to worry about it. The first couple houses should provide you with more than enough for the first week or so even, but now we're looking to secure our long-term success by grabbing as much food and water as we can. So you're going to be hitting up any grocery stores, any milk and mores, any green markets. Gigamarts are great as well. I like to grab all the fresh food and produce and shove it right in the freezer of my starter house. Going to keep that fresh as long as possible, and any canned goods and stuff like that I'm going to just throw in the trunk of my car right away, as much as I can fit. Make sure you are checking the back rooms of any stores. We're looking for sacks of fruits and vegetables back here. It's a great source. These are great for two reasons. Number one, they contain a bunch of fresh food in them. And number two, we can use the sacks later for setting up our farm. Assuming that you're doing a rooftop farm, you're going to need a sack. If you're not doing a rooftop farm, it's not as important. But it's still a great way to get a ton of food in a bag. Now, while I'm looting houses, I usually grab any empty bowls, any empty cooking pots, kettles, saucer pans, anything like that, because I'm going to fill those up with water, and that's going to be my backup water source in case the water goes out before I am ready. So that's another great source of water. Another great thing you can do is any bars or liquor stores in the area, you can take the bottles and dump them on the ground and use them for water. Now, personally, I'd recommend you dump out any beer and wine, but don't dump out the bourbon, because you can use the bourbon for other things like disinfecting rags and making Molotov cocktails if you want to burn something down. So usually the beer and wine bottles are more than enough, so just dump them out and fill them up with water. Don't drink them. You'll regret it. This is also a great place to grab cigarettes if you took smoker. Next up, we've got day 5. Now, I'm going to call this a catch-up day, but you kind of have your choice. If you're behind on any of your other tasks, get them done today. Otherwise, you have the choice of moving on to day 6, or you can start leveling up your skills by reading all your books and watching skill tapes and or the Life and Living TV show. So it's kind of your choice. Either catch up or start leveling, or move on to day 6. Now, day 6 is where we start to get into a bit of a danger zone here. Day 6, the chopper can start, I believe it's usually between days 7 and 10. So on day 6, we're going to start getting in the habit of watching for the chopper. We're going to listen to the 9 a.m. emergency broadcast channel. Now, if you have not found your emergency broadcast channel yet, you're going to just pretend like it is a chopper day. So if there is a chopper, you're going to stay inside all day. Make sure all the windows and doors are covered with sheets. You're just going to hide inside, read all your books, and get any skill leveling you can done inside the best you can via TV, VHS tapes, or even just grinding any skills that you can do inside. Again, if you don't have emergency broadcast, pretend it is a chopper day. If it's not a chopper day, then what we're going to start doing is scouting our permanent base. So make sure you have in mind where you want to settle permanently by this point, and then start heading over there, start clearing out the zombies. Take your time with this. We've got a few days to do this. We're not in any rush. So just make sure you're pulling up your car, turning off the engine, and then clearing out any zombies that followed you. You're probably going to attract a little bit of attention. Just get the attention taken care of, and then move on to clearing any zombies inside or around the potential base. If you don't have a bag at this point, you're going to want to get a bag too. When you were in the school, you could find a school bag if you haven't found anything better. Otherwise, be on the lookout for these construction guys. Some of them have duffel bags, or I've got a survivalist zombie in my little spawn here that I can get the bag from there as well. And depending on how many zombies are at your permanent base and how many you're able to kill, you could go ahead and start moving stuff into your base if you're able. This will save you some trips later, and it'll lighten the load, so to speak. So if you're able to, start storing loot in your permanent base location. Now the next few days, starting with day 7, are going to be pretty much the same. 9 a.m. every day. You're going to need to check the emergency broadcast system to see if there's going to be a chopper event that day. Again, if you don't have the emergency broadcast channel, pretend like it is a chopper day and just stay inside. You can, if you don't hear anything by, I would say around 4 in the afternoon, then you're probably okay. but I would stay inside until at least 4 in the afternoon, and we're looking for this message here. Air activity detected. This indicates that it is a chopper day. So if you get that message, make sure you stay inside. Make sure all your doors and windows are covered. Stay inside. Watch TV. If you don't have the chopper event, then you're going to do the same thing you did on day 6. Start clearing and scouting your permanent base. Start moving your stuff into that base the best you can if it is not a chopper day. And this is going to be your plan for the next couple days. I would say until either you get the chopper. I would say until you get the chopper, you're going to stay in your main base and just do the same thing over and over again. Start moving your stuff to the new base, but stay in your old base until the chopper event happens. It's probably going to happen between days 7 and 10. So just stick it out here until that happens. And then once that has happened, just in case it bugs out, the strategy that we're doing here should prevent the choppers from being a problem, but sometimes it can bug out a little bit and you'll get zombies pulled to you anyway. So that's why I want to stay at this base until the chopper event happens. Now, in my experience, the chopper event is usually around like 3 or 4 p.m. But as you can see in this playthrough, it didn't happen until almost 7 p.m. And the earliest I've seen it is about 10 a.m. So between 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. generally is when it's going to be. So make sure you stay inside for the entire day. The chopper will go away and come back, so be careful of that. Don't fall for it when it goes away the first time. Stay in your base the entire day just to be safe. After the chopper day ends, I would say around 9 or 10 p.m. at night, you can go out, and I would recommend you just do a quick perimeter check around your main base to make sure you didn't get swarmed. If there are a bunch of zombies there, bug out in your car. If not, you're going to sleep in the base one more night, and then in the morning you can start the process of permanently moving to your new base. And that is going to wrap up this guide. This has been my guide to the first week in Project Zomboid to set yourself up for long-term success. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Post any questions on anything Project Zomboid related in the comment section. I might have a guide for it, or I'll do my best to answer for you.